To the Community Voice. I am Fara. The 27th annual Miami Jewish Film Festival arrives in our community next week, January 11, and runs through the 25th. That's 15 days of wonderful films, beautiful stories, and it's showcasing 97 feature films, 26 shorts from 25 countries. That is an amazing amount of film, and so many people are involved in these projects, including 10 world premieres and international premieres, 12 North American premieres, I'm just reading it, and 7 US premieres, hosted by 8 different venues throughout our wonderful Miami community. Joining this esteemed group, I welcome Miami filmmakers Gene and Michael Milgrom. Gene's autobiographical film, Between the Stones and the Flowers, takes the journey of her audience to her crypto-Judaism, which covers 500 years of decades of trying to figure out her own Jewish identity. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
And it's truly a pleasure. And they are locals. They are locals. They go to the Young Israel, and they're just local people that really wanted to find out their own identity and bring it to our wonderful community in this wonderful film.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, really. I'm so excited.
And you are on a woman on a mission with her husband that's on a mission, giving you the wings to fly. And it's an incredible story. So how did this all begin?
So this all began in like a little nutshell in my house, looking for my past and feeling Jewish, not knowing, I was Jewish. And it just went from there to across the world, into archives, into documents from the Inquisition, and I found my past. And then I started to document it.
So your beginnings were in Havana, Cuba.
Correct. I was born in Havana.
So 4 years, you were 4 years old, you left, you came to America, to a country, to a language that you didn't know.
Correct.
You went to school. Tell us about
I went
where
to St. Teresa School.
That's a nice Jewish school for a girl.
Nice Catholic girls' school. Then I went to LaSalle High School, next to Mercy Hospital. Then I went to Barry University. And it was a nice, hefty Catholic education.
All the way.
All the way. And then feeling Jewish all along. Until I finally married a Cuban Catholic man, had 2 children, separated, and began to pursue my Catholic roots.
But you always seem to, I watched...
Jewish roots, yes.
But even then you had Catholic roots because of your upbringing. But it's so interesting because you had mentors along the way.
Correct.
You had there was one woman when you were 6 or 7 or 8. You said Rachel Friedman.
Correct.
We shout out to Rachel Friedman for like really giving you the starting for you to question your own roots. Really, where am I coming from? Where does this all mean? So, how did you know in your heart that there was something different and that it wasn't jiving to what you were being raised with and the dogma there?
Rachel opened my eyes at the age of 6 or 7. But my real mentor, and I don't mention it in the film, and this may come as a shock to many, but you will remember Sister Jean O'Loughlin, the dean of Barry University, who was my religious instructor. And she was famous with the Elian Gonzalez story. She's the one that took over. And she taught me comparative religions with a hefty focus on Judaism. And when I left Barry, she told me to follow my heart and my soul. And Sister Jean O'Loughlin taught me so much. And from there, I just eventually, at the age of 28, took my wings and just flew with it.
What would you say to those 2 people now, if you had the time? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, because they are the true beginning of the stirring of my soul. A 6-year-old little girl and a sister dean, famous Catholic nun. Both of these people are the ones that were responsible for my soul stirring.
And it's so interesting. We remember those people. Like we remember those gifts. We remember those teachers. Remember those supporters in our lives. And I'm so glad that we're having that moment with them. And if they're watching, to know that it made such a big difference in your life. Has Rachel ever reached? Have you?
No, I've looked everywhere. I've scoured Facebook. I'm trying to remember the images. No, she kept kosher. She was in that school.
What school? We never know.
No, it was at the Coral Gables Youth Center summer camp. And we would go from 8 to 5 in little summer programs for years. And this little girl just sat there and talked to me for hours. And so, Rachel Friedman, if you're out there, I would love to meet up with you again.
Wouldn't that be? I would love to have that shidduch.
Reconnect.
I want to have that shidduch moment.
You never know.
That bringing people together. Michael, what is this like for you to watch your wife of, I just found out, 32 years?
We've been married for 32 years and many more to come.
God willing for all of us. I'm married 32 years too. It's a long
wonderful
journey, but a different journey for everybody. But what is that like for you to see Genie really figuring out? And it wasn't always as easy in the beginning and the steps that you've made together.
I'll tell you, in the beginning, well, we met after she became Jewish. That's what we met. We got married after the conversion, I mean. And what I noticed about her in the beginning, she had a fire, a flame inside. A flame that I was born Jewish, I didn't have that particular flame. She had a flame burning all the time, and she wanted to go with it, and there was nothing to stop her. And many times she hit a brick wall, and then she used to tell me, that's it, I just can't continue. But the next day, I'm going forward. So the brick wall broke down, and she continued to the next one. And that's been for years and years. Every time another step. Wasn't easy at all, but another step. And finally, she was so happy. She reached, at the very end, she got a letter from Israel that the family was Jewish all along, 500 years ago. And that was like the top of the world for her, saying, I reached my goal. But then that was for her, goal for her. And then she started continuing the goal for other people who were in the same situation. So then she started searching, working, trying for other people as well. So it switched.
It's interesting. So you became the teacher for others.
I'll tell you how that happened. When I received the letter from Israel, which had been my goal, to prove that I was always Jewish, that I was born Jewish.
What was that moment like?
That moment was like, I mean, I've been working a little bit over 10 years, maybe close to 15, and to get a letter saying that I was born Jewish from the highest court in Jerusalem. But when the rabbi gave me the letter in Israel, he said, I am buying you 2 generations to resolve this craziness in your family and to help bring them back because they're Jews. And after 2 generations, your great-grandkids are going to take your boxes of material. They're going to throw them away once you're gone. So I'm buying you 2 generations with this. And we were on the plane coming home, and I said to Michael, I know my family. Everyone's very staunch in Catholic. My sister's very Catholic. My children understand their heritage, but they're Catholic. And I said to Michael, I cannot do this for myself. For my family, I said, but in Judaism, there is a thought that if you can't do it for yourself, you do it for others. And that's when we took up the baton and started traveling overseas, having people contact me, helping whoever I could help to return. Of course, not proselytizing, but they would find me through social media. And my passion to help others is because I couldn't, I won't use help because my family doesn't need help. They're very happy where they are, and that's fine. But I wanted to help others to come back.
And your story is, when I watched the film, I felt such an isolation for you.
It was.
And with you, because your ex-husband didn't want you to have the children convert. The children decided that that wasn't in their best interest. Where did you get the fortitude? Where did you get the energy? Where did you get that passion that you have? You're like a tiger, like that would not let something go, that you knew, even though you were alone, that you knew this was your path.
It was inside, Fara. It was, I just knew. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. And in the movie, it shows that I did have a couple of, let's say, dreams or whatever.
You had a vision.
I had a vision, and that vision came to me 3, 4 in the morning. I thought, do I put this in the movie? Do I not put this in the movie?
It was beautiful.
But decided that I wanted this to be as real, as true, as correct as it could. And that vision ended up being the rabbi that had helped Michael go to yeshiva when his father died. And he was left alone in this country at the age of 15. It ended up that I found him through a book of thousands of rabbis. And I said to Michael, this is him. And he looks at it and he said, that is the rabbi that helped me. Years later, a book has been written about all the apparitions of that rabbi to people around the world. And he gave me a lot of strength. And it was split seconds in my head. It was split seconds.
But even in the split seconds, I want to go to this video because you visit a house that you say, okay, maybe there's some Jewish connection for my family here.
Correct.
You walk through the house, nada, nothing, zilch, zip, zero, except let's go to video with the waters of mikvah. We're going to change the video. That's okay. It's the other one with the lady in the mikvah.
Who ended up being my cousin that I found through genealogy, a very close cousin.
No. The other one.
Right, the other one I think restarts.
The other one.
That river is a very important...
Okay, let's go to the river anyway. Let's go to the river. Right, we're through the river and through the woods.
Right,
to grandmother's house we go, which I want to talk about your grandmother after.
This is the natural boundary between Spain and Portugal. All the Jews had to escape through there, and this is the village of my ancestors. Mm-hmm. So it still looks like this. This was a couple months ago. And this is...
And this actually is your cousin.
And this is actually my cousin, Alexandra.
You found out.
Portuguese.
So you go through this house and nothing is happening except you said there's a little door. I'm going to go through this little door. There's nothing really here, she says. And inside you find underneath this...
I find this mikvah.
Which is one of the most holy experiences for women and men, is the holy mikvah.
It goes straight down. The water has to be from a natural spring. You can see the benches on the side, which were used at the time for the brides. And
the mikveh signifies purity, it signifies family.
And you can see that it has steps going down, 7 steps.
7 steps.
I know, we died when we saw that. It was amazing.
That is so amazing. And there's you, one of your, talking about your experience. And back to us, it's really very moving that you had all of these serendipitous things happen.
Actually, the director who came with me, Roberto Otero, he was saying that he's been a filmmaker for many, many years.
Let's show a picture of him. Can we show the filmmaker?
Yes.
Him in action behind the camera the way it should be?
He was wonderful.
That's
Here he
one.
is. And this is in New York when we visited the scholars of Yeshiva University and a conference I gave up there. But Roberto kept saying that in all of his years, he has never seen doors open like they opened for me, like one after the other, no matter what I wanted to do, no matter what weird place I wanted to visit, underground, overground, in a tower, the doors just kept opening. He said that he felt that it was like guided. He's not a religious man, but when we were coming back on the plane from Spain, he said, not only do I want to be Jewish, I want to be guided by God like you are. And because he saw the doors just opening, he said, this never happens.
Isn't that interesting? And where do you go? Okay, you have all this information. You're figuring out your history, your Judaism 500 years back. You have your grandmother. Well, I'm not going to forget that grandmother story. I'm sorry, but where do you go from there? You have all this history, and then you make a movie, and then you're in the Miami Jewish Film Festival. Like, pray tell, Michael, how do you sleep like next to this woman? Does she sleep?
Very little.
Well, she starts at about midnight and she wakes up at 4 a.m. and she's got the phone attached to her hand. And that's as much as she sleeps at night. That's it.
So how did the idea
But she doesn't wake me up. That's okay.
Well, you're a sound sleeper then.
Yes,
Yeah. But how did it begin for, okay, let's do something with this. And why did you decide to come forth now and do a movie?
A lot of people, as I was speaking internationally about my book and about the phenomenon, everyone would say, you need to do a movie, you need to do a movie, you need to do a movie. As I started getting older, the resonance of the rabbi saying to me in Israel, somebody is just going to throw away all your things, I realized that I needed, besides the books, this needs to be recorded. And I didn't want to take a year, let's say, and more out of my life to get this done because I have so much to do. I need to get documents digitized around the world. I want to find every last person that wants to return between, Mexico and Brazil. I just want to do so much. But I decided that this, let's say, 1.5 year hiatus of doing this, it's not a hiatus for most people, but
a hiatus. I should have such a hiatus. Make a movie.
Well,
why not?
Actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, actually, what happened? We had a talk about it actually at one time.
Yeah.
And
Only one time?
That's when the needle moved.
Okay.
At that moment. So for a long time, she's been answering emails to other people, phone calls, speaking different places in the world, but it was localized. A few people here, a few individuals and all that.
It was COVID that opened it up.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we were talking and she was saying, like, I feel I have to spread it a lot more, much faster. We don't have the time. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? So we hit on the idea of a movie. A movie will spread it all over the world, hopefully, and people who want to see it, who are interested, are going to get something out of it. Instead of just, speaking in Sacramento, speaking in Chicago, and all that, which is very localized. So this way it spreads in one time, and way to tell the whole story instead of how much can you tell, speaking on stage, how much can you tell? This way in a movie, you tell the whole story from beginning to the end.
And it's not the end, really. There's so much more to be continued.
Not the end. The very last picture of the movie was Genie with the Pope.
I know.
That's the beginning of the next chapter.
How did you get audience with the Pope?
So since 2015...
Oh, but I forgot. She opens doors magically.
Right, and God helps.
Since 2015, I got funding from a DNA company in Israel to digitize all the world records of the Inquisition. Because at the end of the day, people like me need to hook up to Inquisition records. There's nothing. There's no synagogue records. There's no marriage records. Nothing. So we need to hook up.
So what we're talking about in the time of when the Jews were displaced, the Inquisition, even in the late 1300s.
Right, 1391 through 1690 is the majority of these documents.
So talk about what happened. The Jews were expelled. They were persecuted. They were converted.
The Jews were forced to convert to Catholicism, and they did in name, but continued their practices underground. By doing so, they were also allowed to leave. My family chose to stay. And by doing that, hiding underground, they were being hunted down by the inquisitors, caught, dragged to an Inquisition cell, and then made to convert again in the cell. All their goods were taken away, and then they were burned at the stake. I have identified between 45 and 60. I burned at the stake, men, women, children. I feel, and you asked me what was the pushing, I feel that these relatives, ancestors, they've had it. These grandmothers that I found going back to 1391, they found a person, an ancestor, a descendant that would have a big mouth, that would open it and would tell their story. And when I light candles on Friday nights, I see all these 22 little women shrouded in black, standing next to me, and I'm lighting candles for them and everyone that's been silenced.
Genie, is it that much different today? Look what's going on in the anti-Semitism in the
Correct.
world, October 7th, 8th, and here we are to today. How different is it? There's always been this persecution,
Horrible.
this hate, what is that message that you want to send to the world about your experience as a Jewish woman dealing with this, knowing her ancestry to today's date? I think it's really relevant.
I think that feeling all the time, at least once a week when I'm solitary in front of the candles, that I feel the presence of the voices trying to be heard. That strength is the strength that I have found to continue my work with. Because I have been surprised after October 7th by the amount of people emailing me to return. It's doubled and tripled, and I thought people are going to stay away now. They're going to say, oh, no, I don't want to. And I have found...
Again, you thought it was going to be a crypto-Judaism experience once again.
Exactly. And no, I have people, my email is every month between 400 and 600 emails from around the world, and it has exponentially increased since this after October 7th. So, and now I'm in a position, well, can you write me after the premiere? And I feel awful because I'm always there for everybody. But I think that what this has meant is that maybe it's time for the Jewish people not to be so fractured, not to think I'm Ashkenaz, Sephardic, I'm Mizrahi, I'm Reform, I'm Orthodox. We are all Jews. And I think that this is the time for unity, and this is the time that a film like this can help people understand how unified we need to be.
And what is this misconception? Why do you think, in your own experience, the hatred? You've read your ancestry, you've documented it, you've seen it, raw materials. Your parchment.
I read them all.
Yeah. So where is that coming from? This hatred for Jews?
In Spain and Portugal, not Portugal. In Spain, I've read every single Inquisition document. I read them at night. They're in medieval Portuguese and Spanish. I learned how to read it, and what I personally have seen in my family, we were no different than any other family over there. It was about money, and it was about trying to take away the things that the Jews had built. Whether they were little shoe shops, whether they were making furs, whether they were making hats like my family, they were all in these Jewish guild professions. It was all about the money, what I saw, and hatred for anyone different from a Catholic. Because they expelled the Moors, too.
Once the Inquisition caught someone, they took the first thing they did.
They took their money,
all the possessions away, all the money
to supposedly pay for your time in prison.
And then once they took him, they got him out of jail. They didn't bring back the money.
No,
they kept all the money.
Well, they basically made it out of jail many times to be burned.
That also.
I have stood in the places where my family has burned. This is a very difficult movie to make. I cry every time I see it. It premieres on the 14th. I have 8 days to watch it 100 times so I don't make a fool of myself in the middle of the theater at the premiere. But it takes a lot. The Jews had to be very strong to hide underground. And I'm so proud of my family for doing that and allowing me 517 years later to understand who they were and to pick up the breadcrumbs.
You really did a popcorn trail. It's totally amazing. And there's 2 premieres. There are 2 showings. So maybe you can just give a plug on that for yourself.
Right. So on the 14th of January at Temple Beth Am at the beautiful new theater, The Hub, at 3:30 p.m. You can get the tickets at the film festival link.
MiamiJewishFilmFestival.org is the website, and you can see it on the scroll underneath. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Genie.
And on Thursday the 18th at 7 p.m. at the Jewish Museum.
Miami Beach.
Miami Beach. And that is also, you can buy the tickets online. Very excited about that as well. I'm very close friends with the museum. Been there speaking many times, and it's very exciting.
One of the most important parts of the movie for me that validated everything is when your grandmother passed. You were given 2 beautiful things Maybe you want to share that. And for me, it was just like, a validation that you didn't know about. And why now? Why not when she was alive?
I don't know when my grandmother, so she left me a Star of David earring.
After she passed.
And my mother brought it. It was Shabbat. My mother brought it to me, and also a Hamsa, Hand of God, very similar with an eye like I'm wearing here now in the center, very antique. And I realized at that moment, I had already converted. I'd been converted for over, as a traditional, I converted traditionally, and I was living...
By Rabbi Becker.
By Rabbi Herschel Becker of Young Israel of Kendall.
When I saw him on the film, I was like, Yahoo! And he was very skeptical for you.
He was. And he saw how difficult it would be with my family.
It took a very long time.
When I saw these...
It's not easy being Jewish, is it?
I know. And I saw this and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to research my past. And that was the catalyst to research my past. And so I should try to wear some of these things, and maybe Sunday I might wear.
Or bring them.
My grandmother's...
show people.
Yeah, my grandmother's Hamsa. And it's just amazing that I got to this point. And, Michael's here, and I have to tell you that you said before, Michael is the wind beneath my wings. And none of this would have been possible without his encouragement. When I get discouraged, Michael's right there encouraging. I think the most pivotal moment of my journey was when my mother, who had been so deeply against this, in 2014 asked to see Rabbi Becker. And I didn't want to go. That Michael took her. And you want to tell that story?
So she came over to me and she
was 86.
Yeah, please, can we go to Rabbi Becker? And I said, why? And she wouldn't tell me. I just want to talk to him. And Ginny wouldn't want to go because, all the problems she caused beforehand about, the religion and all. So why now? Why this? So anyway, I took her to Rabbi Becker. We were sitting across from each other, Rabbi Becker, she and I. And then he looks, he didn't say a word. He's waiting for her to talk. And then she says, I don't want to die Catholic. That's how she says. These couple of words, I do not want to die Catholic. His eyes opened up real big, like...
We already had the document from Israel that she was Jewish, but she had to take it on.
So he asked her actually why. She wouldn't talk about it. She just kept on repeating, I don't want to die Catholic. Then he told her, to be Jewish, it's not like you say you are Jewish and you become Jewish. You got, there are actions involved. You got to do something to accept being Jewish, not just to say I'm Jewish. So she says, I understand. What do I do? And then he told her, today's Friday afternoon, actually. Why don't you go home, light Shabbat candles, make the blessing. That means you took on one of the mitzvot, you took on one of the actions, and then officially, because you're already Jewish, but you took it on. So
we did it. I lit candles with Mom. A few weeks later, that afternoon, on Sunday, she went really deep down into Alzheimer's, the last conscious act that she did. And hence the stone and the flower, the name, because they lived a semi-Catholic life. And so I go to their graves. Today's her birthday. I'm going to go there after we finish.
Isn't that crazy serendipitous that it's today?
And so I put the stone and I put the flower for the Catholic past, the stones for the Jewish, and that's it.
And that's how and she died knowing who she was.
Yes.
And you, my dear, are such a catalyst for many. And your work is immeasurable for many and helping so many.
I'd like to show the up on the mountain.
Sure.
I'd like to add something,
yes,
if I may.
Yes.
We were actually talking about before. I just want to give my take on the whole picture, meaning the movie and everything that Ginny is doing. It's not the idea to bring back anybody who wants to come back to Jewish, to embrace the Jewish religion. That's not the main idea. To me, it's the people who find out about the Jewish origin. They don't want to become Jewish. but they're very happy to hear the origin. And to me, that's very important, especially today. If you care about the Jewish culture, you care to find out if you were Jewish 500 years ago or whatever, and you go and you take steps to find out, that means you have a feeling for the Jewish people. That means you are not going to be anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
You are going to be friends of the Jewish people,
Absolutely.
even though you don't become.
Absolutely.
And today, it's very important to make friends.
And to have knowledge. Let's close with what I'm looking at here, because we're almost at our time together. Been an incredible journey. So tell me what we're looking at in this journey.
We're looking at the river between Spain and Portugal and the village. But I want to see the ones that were playing on top of the mountain. So these gentlemen are sheep herders, and they are playing in a language that my grandparents used to speak to us in.
And this is a river that you have to cross.
You have to cross this river to go to safety. The Jews had to cross.
During the Inquisition.
And this was way up on a mountain. They were singing in Mirandés, a language that my grandparents spoke freely in the house.
Yes.
Very little spoken in the world, maybe 5,000 people. I found these gentlemen who sang to me in Mirandés the songs that my grandfather and grandmother sang to me as a child.
Wow.
A very moving experience.
And who says you can't go home?
That's right.
And you did go home. And I want to thank you so much for coming here and to sharing your story. And it's just, and you actually hiked that.
We hiked it. We were up there. I thought I would.
All the way to the top.
And when I was up there, I said, I'll never get down. I'll never see this movie. And it was beautiful.
Jeannie, somehow, and there's your parents' headstone.
And I'm headed there now. And yeah.
So go see their movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a tribute to Jeannie's beautiful roots and speaks to the grandmothers and all of her ancestors. Part of the Miami Film Festival. And
the important message out of all this is anyone that's Hispanic, many have these roots. I am not the only one.
Absolutely. It's between the stone and the flower, the duality of the conversos. And I want to thank you for being part of my journey today. And thank you to our audience. I'm Fara Sachs. This is the Community Voice. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you.